Shalom from Jerusalem. My name is Albert Wexler. I'm the director of Jerusalem Prayer Breakfast, and we are here with answers for allies. We are in the Friends of Zion Museum, and with me is a wonderful couple, Yossi and Maor Levi. And you are actually from Kibbutz Eilon. And Israel has experienced a very, very dramatic, tragic time. And you are one of the families that have been evacuated from the north.
Yes.
So we want to hear from you, what does it mean, evacuated in today's term? I mean, we talk about 160,000 people.
True.
And it's quite an expensive moment. We'll hear about the details, but I would just say that Maor is the chairwoman of the Kibbutz Association, and you, Yossi, have been an entrepreneur in security fields and a combat unit fighter from Duchifat.
Yes.
And you've been working with Israeli security for 17 years, so you know many things that are related to security. So thank you so much for being with me today.
Pleasure. Thank you for having us.
Well, what does it mean to be evacuated? I mean, you live up in the north, you're next to the Lebanese border.
Right.
And so suddenly, what day was it?
So it was a quiet Sunday morning, actually. Very unfamiliar to myself. I overslept, and Mao wakes me up at around 4:20, and she said that something is happening down south. So I immediately turn on the TV in the bedroom, and I think that the first feature, the first frame that my eye caught was a white Hamas pickup in the streets of Sderot. And that kind of, it was a moment, and it kind of caught us by surprise. Personally, it was something it's like the nightmare is actually happening. And since then, we had a very, very long and disturbing Saturday, like every individual in Israel. I think that the X factor for us is the fact that we are on the border. And we saw what's happening there, and you cannot help yourself but thinking, okay, is it a joint attack? Are we next? And how do we go about that? So that was my personal impression. Obviously, we're parents. We have kids. We have family who lives in the kibbutz or not far by, and those thoughts kind of led through this whole, and they just actually escalated as that same Saturday.
Well, it's easy. I mean, you see the kibbutzim in the south being attacked and pillaged and atrocities there, and of course your first thought is, well, we might be next.
Yes.
Yes.
Few weeks before, a friend of us told us that she's organized a suitcase with things in case of something will happen in the kibbutz. It was a few weeks before. We sat on her balcony, and she said, I told her, what are you talking about? Okay, if something will happen, we'll go to the security room. I couldn't think about this.
It was Sukkot, everything was nice. We had the celebration, many
we didn't
guests.
even think that something like that can happen. We thought they can attack us, but not in this way. This Saturday was the most frightening things that we ever had in our life. We couldn't even explain what was happening inside.
Felt paralyzing that day. It was really bad.
The feeling was paralyzing. The feeling was a really, really deep anxiety. And, like in every situation, there were rumors and things start to escalate. And then around noontime, you suddenly hear about this party. And then you say, okay, there are a couple of people in the party. And as the day developed, the news got severe and severe, and you tell yourself, well, I guess if that's what they're sharing in the news, it's always by far worse in reality.
Yeah, it started with 20.
Yeah, it started with 20, which is horrifying.
People,
but as the day escalated, it became worse and worse. And again, in the background of that is the sense that, okay, we home now. So whatever we had planned for Saturday, we're staying home. Now go and try to, in a very peaceful way, deliver and explain your message to the kids. We have 3 young kids in elementary and middle school, and you don't want to panic them, you don't want to stress them out. You want to find a way to kind of explain it to them in the sense that, guys, we decided to stay home, something is happening south, and it doesn't feel right for us to go out and about. But rumors are rumors, and social media is social media. And as much as we try to tighten their exposure, and it was tightened from our end, still, neighbors and friends and
WhatsApp
people,
groups
and all of a sudden we have a first responders team, and now they are being alerted, and they go and gear up, and they're taking position around the kibbutz. So as the day developed, the level of tense from both what's happening down south and, okay, for us it was a matter of when is it developing as well in the northern region.
Now, how far are you from Lebanese border?
So we are 2 kilometers, 0.18 from the border. That's the official measurement. From an attack perspective, it's a nutshell.
Well, and then you get the orders from the government that everybody's going to be evacuated?
No, Saturday there were no orders. Nothing happened on Saturday. Our first responders decided to be proactive and take possessions around the kibbutz and do patrol and maintain and manpower all the gates and shut down some of them and just leave one for entrance and exits.
Sunday morning.
Yeah, and
Okay.
now and then we could talk more in depth about that specific night, but Sunday morning we actually got something that was I'll call it a very, very high and warm recommendation from our township with the blessing of Pikud Oref to evacuate.
The home front evacuates.
Home front,
Yeah. Mhm.
yes, to evacuate. Evacuate for a 24 to 48 hour period. So imagine when you want to leave home for 24 or 48 hours, you take a small backpack and you leave. So Sunday morning, early morning, 8:30, 9-ish, we left the majority of the people, especially the people that do have young kids, obviously. And we left not knowing exactly where we're going. We left knowing that we need to leave, to get out of distance, to get farther enough, and then we'll figure out where are we going. But I would like to circle back for that night. I think that, first of all, again, from the perspective of a parent, and this is, I think, the message that this is the prism I'm constantly trying to reflect to people. People are parents. We have kids. And your mindset and your thoughts and the way that you operate as a father is different always, because you first think about your beloved ones. And that night was a night where you saw the worst nightmare coming to reality. And you know that you're staying here for the night, and you're debating how this night is going to look like. And I can tell you that I mean, with whatever efforts that I had, I kind of tried to prepare the house in a case of an attack. We gathered the kids. All the kids slept in the same. We have 2 safe rooms on the first and the second floor. They slept in the safe room in the second floor. At that time, you already understand that the feasibility of the safe room can be compromised in a very vicious ways.
Well, you have a lot of thoughts going through your head.
You have a lot of thoughts going through your head. You think about, evacuation plan. If you need to, I can tell you that our car was fully loaded with gas. It was facing the outwards. Our gear was already in the car. We even had if we need to leave abroad, we have an emergency kit ready to deploy if we need to go to the airport and leave immediately. And I can tell you that, I mean, we personally, we didn't think about taking anything of sentimental value. The mindset was a couple of clothing for the kids and whatever medication we need, and that's it. And that night, I mean, we were literally up almost through the whole night. Sitting, I was in touch with our first responders team throughout the night, kind of in touch with the neighbors, see how everybody is, what's everybody's doing. And with, I think, you know, the first sunrise, we kind of started to gather ourselves and left. But that night was a very disturbing night as a father.
Well, I can understand. And basically what we know now is that, of course, Iran was planning a concerted attack from all the fronts, Lebanon and Syria and Houthis in Yemen, and then, of course, Hamas from Gaza. But obviously, Gaza and Hamas, they couldn't coordinate with them, or I don't know exactly what happened, but they definitely went ahead alone, and it was a horrible thing what they did, but in a way that it was not a concerted attack, it was better.
You know,
maybe it did save us.
In a sense, it definitely made it easier for us to leave the North region. Saying now, 41 days into the war, is it better that the northern frontier did not escalate? I have doubts about that. I'm not talking about timing-wise. I'm talking about the actual thing happening. I think that today, I think that what this attack caused is, first of all, a very disturbing sense from a civilian perspective of being left alone.
Vulnerability.
People were begging for help, and help was not there. So there is a very tight bond between the citizens of the state and the state, and the basic knowledge and understanding that the state and the army will be there to protect you when needed. This is the bond that they had across Gaza with all the settlements there, and this bond was compromised. So the sense of confidence that the single individual has in his state and the state's ability to be there for him and to protect him and his loved one has been compromised and broken. And that's a faith and a trust matter that needs to be regained. Now, is it being regained? It's a question that everybody can answer differently, because everybody has a different challenge now, 41 days into the war. But if you ask us, I think that if tomorrow somebody will announce on the news, guys, thank you very much, this war has ended, we are good to proceed and go back to reality, I think that the majority, at least I can speak behalf of the majority of the parents with kids, will not return home.
You talk about
the northern,
but also the southern part.
Definitely.
North and south.
I think that we will need a very dramatic military action to take place up north to regain the trust and the sense of confidence of the majority of the citizens in order for them to go back to their homes. I think that the fact and the knowledge that the Rajuan forces of Hezbollah are literally a click from the border, and with a massive, by far more severe, massive amount of force than Hamas has, is not something that people could live with now.
And of course, there is a difference because now IDF is taking down Hamas infrastructure, but not something similar is not happening on the northern border. But let me ask you this: so it did start to escalate in the north. When did that happen? Was it a week later, or was it a few days after the Hamas attack?
So I think it was about a week or 10 days afterwards that Hezbollah joined the attacks. The word joining is very tricky here, because what they're been doing, we were not spread thin south and north on a total a state war, but they are keeping us on our toes. And currently, the government's method is to be reactive as opposed to being proactive. I think that the meaning of proactive will be a spread out war, in the sense that if we will initiate a full attack on Hezbollah, it will instantly develop into a war in the northern borders as well. I think that I can understand the sense of, let us finish the job down south first. We got a lot to do there from a army perspective, and we got to keep in mind, of course, that we have a lot of hostages there. And then we'll see what we're doing with regard to our northern border. I think that today the fact that we are very reactive and not proactive is nerve-wracking. I think I don't want to say that it's showing sense of weakness, but it's definitely not increasing the level of confidence. But if that's the right thing to do right now, maybe it is. Obviously, people with much greater knowledge and experience are managing this operation, and I believe that I trust the army by them knowing what they're doing. Would that be sufficient for people to go back home? No.
Well, let's talk about you as a family a little more. You said you left, you didn't know where did you go to go. I mean, is the government helping anything? How much is the government helping? I mean, we talk about 160,000 people. It's a lot.
Right. Yeah, and I will say that at start for us, for the north, only like 14 kibbutzim and
other
townships got the evacuation. And for us, it took 2 weeks until we got that, only because of the 180 meter
difference
between us to them.
So,
okay,
so 180 meters
defined us.
So it defined you that you shouldn't get money from the government.
The money and before the money, we left home at October 8th. We left home, and then we found a place to stay. Mm-hmm. But the government didn't took the responsibility for that.
So they would say, well,
it took 2 weeks for us to get that from the.
It's not even 2 weeks, I think, because it's divided to two.
Yeah.
There is the acknowledgement of the state of gaining responsibility and officially signing, a general letter.
But of course, Yossi, what are you talking about? You have 180 meters. I mean, it's
crazy.
No, wait, it's even more ridiculous. Albert, it's even more ridiculous. It's even more ridiculous.
Crazy.
You know why?
It was crazy.
Because it took the government 2 weeks to declare the northern border evacuation. It was gradually. Then they said up to 2 kilometers. So you take our township, that has 32 kibbutzim and moshavim within that townships, and not all of them are being evacuated because some of them are 2 kilometers, and then there were 4 kibbutzim and moshavim, and we are among those 4, who even then were not being recognized due to this 100.
You should feel very safe with 180 meters.
Definitely.
Half of the kibbutz don't have
shelters.
Half of the kibbutz don't even.
Half of the doesn't have the safe rooms.
The safe room. The
mamad.
Right.
by code, it's different. Now, you asked about the government. I think that the government so far, now, we need to make a definition here because we are migrants in our country now, but I can say that if you are trying to objectively define and prioritize who are you taking care of, there are people in a much greater, worse situation than us that needs to have the priority. With that being said, I think that the government acknowledged that they need to take responsibility, but they are very, very slow. They are very incompetent. We don't feel any sense of the government is in possession of this situation in many layers.
No, but when you are now officially recognized as evacuees,
Yes.
correct? So do you get some help from the government?
No.
It's not exactly now,
It's
but
not exactly now?
we are staying as a community in Sde Boker now. We are in our kibbutz. We are
280.
280 people. 250 from us, 250 people are staying now in Sde Boker.
Sde Boker is, of course, in Negev.
In the Negev, yes.
Right, in the
and,
Negev.
which is
So-
not also, it's pretty close
No.
to the...
No,
No,
it's
very-
far.
it's
It's
a
a
cl-
very,
it's-
it's in
yeah.
the central of the Negev. It's not
Next to
Mitzpe
Mitzpe
Ramon.
Ramon.
It's
Well,
it's a
that's
peaceful.
the picture.
Exactly.
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 Machtesh Ramon. It's
Exactly.
a very nice
So
scenery.
you feel at home now?
We
We
feel
feel,
it.
no,
We feel
not
it.
exactly, but it's much more green in the north.
I see.
But we are staying there. So we, as a community, we started to do a lot of things by ourselves, and then we got some help from, I don't know if it's the government or the community in Sde Boker, but we got help. I don't know to tell you if it's the...
I think that
Exactly.
I am more
Different.
firm than my wife in that sense. I think that the government took them almost 3 weeks to
understand.
to be proactive in the sense that we were officially approved for accommodation. This piece, yes, it's been taken care of. Aside from that, I think that everything that's happening around is subject to the very good faith of the citizens of Israel, people who are very, very entrepreneurial and engaging and wanting to help and being very active in seeking and searching for ways to help. Now, what is ways to help? It means that we have developed our own educational system because we have among us about 100 kids.
School. I mean,
School.
you need to
So
organize your own
Yes.
school.
So we, by ourselves, independently, with the help of our township and the township that is hosting us now, we have opened an education system, a K to 12, okay? But that's not somebody from the government came and sat at the hotel and told us, guys, Sunday morning they start, this is the school, this is the teacher. No, we got healthcare. We basically established our own emergency response team in the hotel from our kibbutz, and we assigned people to various.
When you say hotel, so you have...
We're staying at a
Yes,
hotel.
exactly.
Okay, so you...
As
As a
a community, we stay at a
community,
hotel.
we are staying at a hotel.
That, at least that you have a
Definitely.
room, you have a key, and you
We
can
have
close
food,
the door.
we have, right.
Yes, yes.
And so you can pretty
So
much say that this room is now our home.
Exactly. It's not pretty much. That's what it is.
Exactly what happened. now,
Yes,
yeah.
this is what it is. It's basically, it's a stress pot that sometimes you take the cover off to release some stress.
Well, you have many people packed into one,
Exactly.
one little room, and then...
Yeah, but
Right.
but again, our situation is much better than others. With that being said, I feel the neglection of the state as a state. I see that everything that we are able to get, if we needed computers and printers and school supplies or books, it's the good faith of people. It's companies that want to donate and help us. It's
Kids in
clothing for kids, donations. Again, the good faith of people. Our son, for instance, has a gluten allergy, okay? So there was a business, she called and asked if they can help. Again, it's all the good faith of people.
Well, there's something very beautiful about Israeli society.
Definitely.
Amazing.
Because in these moments of crisis, people do get engaged, and there's
Amazing.
a lot of help coming. But it's of course sad to hear that the government hasn't been most proactive.
Yes, again, you at the end you don't feel. Well, people do feel the lack of engagement from the government. People are looking for their funding. People are looking to be reimbursed. Me and my wife, we are both self-employed. We're not working. Among us, there are many people who are in the same situation as well. People that left their homes, they need to pay their rents. What do? People have mortgages. People have real estate taxes to pay, electric, cables, water, everything.
Yeah.
And there is no clear message that even if you know that the funds are not there tomorrow, there is no clear message that help you as an individual regarding all the stress that you're experiencing to know, okay, at least in that sense, my state takes care of me. It's going to be tomorrow or the next day, no. There's no clear message. They are constantly changing the numbers. If I'm staying in a hotel, but tomorrow it's not convenient for me anymore, and I want to leave, am I allowed to be reimbursed from the government? Am I not allowed to be reimbursed from the government? We were almost 3 weeks by ourselves, supporting ourselves. Does the state take care of that? Will we ever be reimbursed for that? These are things that people don't know. I'm saying, and I refer it again, we need to keep in perspective that we were able to leave our homes. Some people lost their homes and some people lost their lives. So in that sense, the government should be there, and the government is not necessarily there.
Now, let me ask this. Your kibbutz, Kibbutz Eilon, has it been hit in this last attacks? Thank
No.
God. That's good to hear. Now, we have some of our viewers that have been very, very helpful. I mean, there's a community in Sderot, and they have the same situation. They have their little houses where they stay. It's somebody's kind heart, I understand, and sponsorship and all of that. But there was a community in China that took care of them. And
Really?
I just want to thank you so much, Pastor Daniel, and others who have been so supportive of these communities that have been uprooted. And you now understand, you hear how many questions these people have, how much insecurity it kind of generates when you are uprooted and you don't have access to your home and you don't know what the next day would bring. So I just want to thank you all who are watching us. I want to thank you for standing with Israel. I want to ask you to pray and to understand also the plight of these communities that have been evacuated, 160,000 people. And there's a lot of unanswered questions. There's a lot of insecurity. And we want to ask you, pray. Maybe you will have it in your heart to support a specific community. You want to help specific people that are in dire needs. Maybe there are people with special needs, families, that are experiencing this time much more difficult and much more harder than others. So thank you for tuning in today. Thank you for being and standing with Israel. We're so thankful for those who came to Washington Mall, nearly 300,000 people. So heartwarming, so amazing for us to know that Israel has friends. And remember, pray for the peace of Jerusalem. They will prosper that love Jerusalem. And shalom. See you tomorrow.